You might think that the United States doesn't have any exotic looking bird species, but you'd be wrong. The only problem is all of these bird species do not belong here. How they got here and where to find them coming up right now. Now, just a quick reminder, for the purposes of this video, these are non-native species to the United States. Some were released intentionally and others escaped captivity, but either way, they should not be here and they are not native to the United States. This brings us to our first bird, the pin-tailed Whydah. Now, this bird looks absolutely incredible, like something out of a fairy tale. They can be found in various parts of the United States, including California, Florida, and South Texas. Pin-tailed Whydah are native to sub-Saharan Africa, so how in the world did they get here? Pin-tailed Whydahs became extremely popular in the pet trade, and unfortunately this led to some illegal pet trading, and some of these birds got out. Some of them were also intentionally released. People decide after a while that they don't want their pets and then can't find a home for it, so they just say, be free. This is a huge problem and has led to a lot of these species on this list filling up the United States. These birds are brood parasites, meaning that they actually lay their eggs in other birds' nests, and this has allowed them to gain a foothold in some of these warmer climates that we have in the United States. A recent study actually looked at where the host species for this bird are currently located in the US and also the suitable habitat for this bird, and they came up some predictions on where this bird is going to show up next. They found that the western coast and Hawaii are prime targets for the pin-tailed Whydah to occupy. The pin-tailed Whydah is already in California, but it seems to be expanding northward up the California coast. And Hawaii is just a matter of time before someone irresponsibly lets one go, and then another one gets out and they start to breed. Another place that's probably next for these birds are the Antilles Islands, and this is just inevitable at this point. This bird is doing extremely well in our warmer temperature climates. It's just a matter of time before this bird might be visiting your state. As always, the sources for this material will be in the description below. The next bird on this list is called a goose, but it's actually not a goose at all, it's a duck. The Egyptian goose is also native to sub-Saharan Africa, but has also found its way to the United States. If you're in Europe, this bird is probably very familiar to you as it's already taken over your continent. In the United States, you can find it all over the place across the continental US, and its population is only going to go up. Again, these birds primarily formed their populations by escaping from aviaries, or they were brought in as decoration items for mansions, and they escaped their owners there as well. In fact, the first reports of the Egyptian goose date all the way back to the 1800s, when they were first recorded in Texas. They started to be seen a lot more frequently starting in the 1950s. They're extremely adaptable birds. They can nest on the ground, they can nest in buildings, they can nest in trees, and they do extremely well in those warmer climates, including in places like Southern California, Florida, and Texas. The common theme throughout this video is you're going to see Texas, California, and Florida pop up almost every single time. These climates are extremely mild, which allows some of these more exotic species to gain a foothold and not have to adapt too much to the circumstances. Up next is a literal parrot. I could have done an entire video on the exotic parrot species that you can find throughout the United States. Believe me, there are over a dozen of them, if not over 20. I'm not exactly sure where the number lies. I'll probably do a video like that in the future. The red-crowned Amazon, which was previously known as the red-crowned parrot, can be found again in Southern California, South Texas, and parts of Florida. They can also be found in Hawaii. It's native to eastern Mexico, and it's actually endangered in its native range. In California, populations occupy 11,980 square miles. Their range is absolutely expansive. This is mostly in the LA and Orange County area, as well as dropping all the way down into San Diego. In Florida, populations can be found in the Palm Beach area, occupying around 3,502 square kilometers. Once again, these populations formed through escaped pets and from aviaries. The introduction of non-native plants has also helped this species to thrive, and actually at the moment this is helping some of these introduced species not to compete with some of our native species, because our introduced species are taking care of the non-native plants while our native species are taking care of the native plants. This could, of course, change in the future. In Hawaii, there's actually a population of 400 birds that continues to grow. They can actually trace these ones back to a couple events that took place in history. One particular event happened in 1969, when a small group of these parrots were seen near the Honolulu Zoo. Now, it's not clear if the parrots came from the Honolulu Zoo or not, but it's very likely that they may have escaped. Then in 1982, another group of red-crowned Amazons escaped from a mall during a hurricane that hit. Now, the likelihood of this species expanding to other states is actually pretty low. The red-crowned Amazon requires weather that doesn't drop below 41 degrees on average, and it also requires a lot of rain, so 15 inches of annual rain on average. Now, the only thing about the rain part is these birds have been able to thrive in Southern California because, again, sprinkler systems and artificial man-made water sources. So these birds could expand to more deserty areas like Arizona or Phoenix if given the chance. Our next bird is a cute looking little fluff ball, and it's absolutely sweeping the nation. The Swinhoe's Whydah is from Southeast Asia, but it's found itself again in Southern California. Now, how this bird got here is through, you guessed it, the pet trade. It's almost as if we shouldn't be bringing birds that can thrive in our environments that don't belong there. Now, a lot of these states have restrictions on what creatures you can bring into your state as pets. But again, a lot of this pet trade stuff is illegal and under the radar, so it's really difficult to stop these things. Just don't buy illegal pets, please. They were specifically introduced to Southern California in Orange County in 2006. Now, in Southeastern Asia, they live in warm and humid environments, but it seems like this bird is extremely adaptable and hardy. In fact, this bird has been seen as far north as Seattle. Experts believe that this bird's population is about to explode, and honestly, it could make it all the way to the East Coast. These birds reproduce extremely quickly, which has allowed their population to grow so rapidly. Bird feeders and non-native plants have really helped boost this bird's chances at survival, and it's just getting better in its newfound environment. At this point, again, these non-native plants are not utilized by the native bird species, so there's no competition between the Swinhoe's Whydah and native birds, but this can really change, especially when birds learn how to adapt. In 2018, iNaturalist observers reported only 12,000 sightings of this bird. By 2023, those reports went up to 100,000 just in that 1 year. There's been a big measurable explosion of this bird species expansion. Could you see this bird in your hometown anytime soon? If it's warm enough, it's probably already on its way. The last bird on this list is an absolutely shocking species, the blue and yellow macaw. This bird is native to North and Central South America, but it's found its way into Florida, specifically the Miami area. And yes, they've been reported breeding in the past. Once again, we can thank the pet trade for bringing these birds into the United States. By the early 2010s, at least 24 macaws were found in a 74 square kilometer area in Miami and Dade County. The main small breeding population has actually been there since the 1980s, and they've really adapted well, especially with the help of the non-native palm trees in the area. These birds have entered the local folklore and culture, and so they're kind of symbols of that area. So if you're ever in the Miami area, look out for blue and yellow macaws flying over. These introduced birds are now part of the landscape. They may not have consequences now, but in the future, the consequences could be detrimental. Let me know in the comments below, what introduced species should I bring up in a part 2 of this video? Thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you all next time on Bright Eyed Birding Learn.